Hello guys, my name is Ausra and welcome to my podcast Thinking in Sound. And today is episode number 12. And I'm going to talk about do you compose differently for a dry acoustic versus a reverberant church? Well, and my answer is not. When I'm deciding to compose something, I don't think about the space in which my music will sound, because I don't know. You need to compose an universal composition that would be possible to play it either in the reverberant room or in a dry room, because you never know who will play it and where he or she will play it, so it does not affect my composition. Well, what affects composition is more, what I want to say with that piece. If it's, like a piece for liturgical purpose, or is it a piece, basically just a secular one, that, affects the things how I compose, but not the room itself. Well, definitely, that dry room or big acoustics affects very much, the interpretation, that's for sure. And it's more important to know how you pick up tempo and articulation and all that other stuff, depending on the room. If it's big and dry, or small and reverberating, or vice versa. Okay, now let me just sip a little bit of water and I'll continue talking about that. Okay, so now, I think the cases when I would consider, how I compose for dry acoustics or, big acoustics would be if, I would get commission to compose a piece for some particular occasion and particular instrument. Then, of course, I would, really consider very much, the instrument and the space, and it would definitely affect my composition, but also it would affect very much the suggested registration. Because now, let's see, when I compose a piece, I just put at the beginning, some sort of registration on the, let's say, imaginary organ, that the organ that probably I add stops that most organs would have something similar, not some exotic things. But if if you compose for like very particular instrument and you have a specification and you know what the kind of room it is, then you could compose and plan registration accordingly and be really specific. And when I'm thinking about historical examples of such cases, then I would think about Jehan Alain and his registration suggestions. Well, I don't know how much of it was put by himself originally, and how much of it was added later by his sister. But I think while composing, he often kept in mind his house organ, which was very specific, and you could see that on the registration. But the trouble, if you want to make your piece more universal and play it more often, then definitely you probably need to suggest more generic registration that would work on, let's say, medium size standard organ. Of course, that can be, really, really difficult sometimes, but, it's also, a good thing, for organists, because we need to sort of develop our imagination every time when we sit down to play a new piece, to register a new piece, and to be creative how we play it, how we interpreted it, and what the final result will be. So guys, thank you so much for listening to my episode number 12. And I'm really looking for more questions from you. And thank you for listening to my podcast today. And I'll see you next week in my next episode. Thank you for listening, and bye-bye.